Next, we're going to work on our angles. We know they are 3 and 5/16, so we're going to go ahead and start setting those out. We're going to mark each of the corners out 3 and 5/16 from both sides. Once we get that done, we can then take a straight edge and we can mark from one edge to the other. And that's going to give us the angle that we're going to cut.
Now for some math. We know that this angle right here is 90 degrees. What we need to figure out is those two angles. We know that the measurement is the same from there to there as it is from there to there. That means this angle and this angle are the same. In a triangle, you have 180 degrees. If we subtract this 90, we're left with 90. And then if we take 90 and divide that by 2, we get 45. And that means there's a 45-degree angle here and a 45-degree angle there. We're going to set up our miter saw with a 45-degree angle.
Once you set up the miter saw, you can go ahead and just cut all your corners off. To smooth out the rough corners, we're just going to take a little round over bit. It's a 1/2 inch round over bit, and we're going to run through all the sides, both the top and the bottom. Now we're going to work on cutting the notches out for the top plate there. We're measuring out a 1/2 inch on either side, just like we did for the seat. We can measure down from that line that we created, 5/8 of an inch. That's going to be where the start of our piece is going to be. We're going to do a little crosshatch line to make sure that we have the centers. And then we're going to measure out 3/16 of an inch from either side of that line, so that way we can have a total of 3/8 of an inch for our gap. We need to measure down from that line 1 inch and 5/8, so we'll do that on all lines, mark over 3/16 of an inch on either side again, and then all we got to do is connect those two lines together to give us our little cutout. Now what I'm doing is measuring in 3/16 of an inch, so that way I have a point to put the drill bit. You want to make sure that your material is clamped down so that way it doesn't grab. Once you get it lined up, you can turn on the drill bit and you can drill through. There's a scrap piece of wood underneath to make sure that it doesn't split out the other end, and I'm going to drill all those points. We can then take a jigsaw to cut on the inside of each of those lines to cut out our notches. We're using a square file to get the corners that the drill bit didn't get, and also making this a little bit wider to fit our leg. Once you have that done, you can do a test fit with your leg. You should be able to shake it and not fall out. That's a good sign of a good fit. Another thing that you can do is file down your tenon to make sure that all of your legs fit nice and tight. So now we're going to get the notches cut out. You can see that they're 1 and 15/16 of an inch away from that edge. We're going to take a straight edge and we're going to go from one corner to the other. This is going to make sure that our notches are going to line up with each other. This needs to fit a 3/4 inch board. To do that, we need to measure 3/8 on either side, so that way we get a total of 3/4 of an inch. Once we have our marks, we can take a straight edge, line it up with both edges there, and we can make a line that is now 3/8 of an inch away from our center mark. From the edge of our new line, we're going to mark 1 15/16 of an inch away. Here I made a mistake and went 1 5/16, but we'll correct that later.
So earlier we cut those legs at a 10-degree angle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to adjust this to a 10-degree angle. We're going to lock this thing down, and we'll go ahead and we're going to cut this board at an angle.
On this piece, we're going to angle all 4 sides. What this will do is match the angle of our legs and make a nice smooth transition from this piece to our legs. We're going to take the bandsaw, we're going to cut along both lines, then we'll also make a couple relief cuts, and then we'll cut it at an angle to get rid of a lot of that material. To get the rest of the material out, we're going to take a little round rasp, and then we're also going to take a little square file to kind of help make sure we get a nice square fit. We can test fit a leg, make sure that everything is good. I like to test fit everything together, make sure that everything fits, make sure that everything's lined up. That way, if we need to do any kind of filing, any other kind of fit up, we can get that done. You can see here that our top piece fits in with our bottom piece. Everything lines up pretty good. Now we can get the top done. For the top, what we want to do is we want to make sure that that piece is centered. So we've got a little combination square that we can use as our guide mark. Once everything is centered, we can go ahead and countersink 4 screws in here, and we can screw this stuff down. Now that we have this project together, we're going to have to pull this stuff all apart to sand, and then we'll be able to reassemble, putting glue in all of the joints. With this palm sander, we're going to just take 120 grit sandpaper, pretty common sandpaper. You can go real fine and make things smooth. To put this stuff in, there's a little clamp on the front. You fold that paper down, you lock in that back piece there. And then what you can do is take a little plate there. That's going to puncture some holes, so that way our dust collection system will actually work. And you can see the holes right there. We'll go ahead and sand all the projects down. To eliminate any kind of vibration, especially in these smaller pieces, it's a good idea to clamp them down. Wherever the clamp is, you can just move it and then sand over the area that you missed. We'll go ahead and finish off the rest of the parts to this project. We're going to be doing a laser etch of the FS symbol. What we need to do is we need to size this to fit our board, so you can highlight everything and you can pull it. When we go to make this, we want to make sure it's a cut in the program, so we're going to go ahead and select that. We're going to select our speed, which we typically do about 150 on our speed and about 15 on the wattage there. Click OK. You can click download and download again. That's going to send it to our laser machine. On this laser machine, we've already got the height set up for this, so we're going to stick that part in there. We can use these arrow buttons to move it side to side. Once we feel like we may have it good, you can click the origin button. You can click box. That's going to take your image and adjust it. You can see we were off just a little bit there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use those arrow buttons to adjust it slightly. We will re-hit the origin button and the box again. We'll repeat this process until we feel like we are on. You can see all those corners are now hit. We're not going off of our board. So now that we're set up, we're going to go ahead and close this board down, and we're going to hit the start run. Okay. This is going to be cutting in real time. It's a pretty quick process, especially when we're just cutting. It's a pretty neat little thing to watch. Now that we have all the pieces done, what we've done is we've disassembled that top. We're going to line these screws up, make sure that we have it oriented in the right position. Then what we can do is take some glue, and we can put some glue on underneath. We're just going to try to cover the whole area, and then we can screw this part down. You want to take a rag, preferably a wet rag, to wipe down any excess glue. Right now is the perfect time to do that. We're going to take our legs apart, and we'll go ahead and add glue into those joints. The order in which we do this is incredibly important. You've got to make sure you get the bottom piece glued in first, get all the glue into there, and then what we'll do once we have all our legs in is we'll put glue into that top and on those tenons there to make sure that we can just slide that piece in. The excess glue is a good sign. That means that your joint is full of glue. Once this stuff dries, anything that we weren't able to wipe off, we can use a putty knife and we can scrape up. That glue stops the stain from actually penetrating into the wood, so you want to make sure you get all that excess glue up. The stain will get on your hands, so it's a good idea to use gloves before doing this process. You want to make sure you give it a little bit of a shake to make sure everything's up. To open this, I use a paint can opener, not a screwdriver. Screwdrivers will tend to deform the lid, and then you'll never get it to seal correctly. To stain, I use a disposable white rag. These are just old t-shirt material that's been cut up. You can get these things at Lowe's and Home Depot. We try to, as much as possible, go with the grain when we're applying the stain, and then we just want to cover every square inch of this project. When you're done, you can close up the lid, hammer it down, and there you have our completed project with the FS logo laser etched on the top. I hope you enjoyed watching this.